we're going to take a look at the comic books in my personal collection that have lost and gained the most value in the last week. Coming up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey there, comic book community. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. Before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe. We've hit 3,500 subscribers, and I know I still have yet to do my 3,500 subscriber giveaway, but we will do that. Probably do that at the beginning of February. And I'll let you know very soon what I'm going to give away. In the meantime, also follow us on other socials, Instagram, Bronzeville_comics. Whatnot, Bronzeville_comics. I do shows every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you look in the description, there's a link. If you're not yet on Whatnot, you can sign up there and join up on Whatnot. You'll get $10 off your first purchase, regardless of who you purchase it from. And also in the description is a link to my eBay store and my email if you have any questions. So this is the second week that I'm doing this, and I kind of did the methodology is that on Mondays, I'll go through and I'll update the values of the comic books in my collection using my CLZ app on my phone. And the way that that works is it takes a look at all the comics in your collection, and I have it. You don't have to have it with CLZ. CLZ is essentially a checklist database app. You can put all your comics in. You can put in how much you bought them for, where you bought them, when you bought them, the grade of the book, make notes. It gives you key significance of books, and variant covers. You can enter your own books if you have a unique book that's not in the system. And recently, CLZ has teamed with Cover Price, who I already had a subscription with. So if you're not interested in values, that's fine. You can just use it to catalog your collection. But they do give grades on books, both raw and graded comic books. So there are some caveats. Sometimes it's just a good deal. Sometimes it's just a crazy sale that went well above fair market value, and usually one sale will affect the value of the book if the book doesn't trade very frequently, and it's in grade. So let's take a look at the 10 biggest losers. These are the books that lost the most dollar value. Not a percentage, but the largest dollar value losses in my collection over the last week. So I updated it last Monday. I did that first video. I updated it again this Monday. Looked at the, so with CLZ, when you do the update of values, it'll list the books from the book that gained the most value, and you'll see a green plus next to that book, and all the books that changed values all the way down to red minuses, and the largest red minus at the bottom. So number 10 on the list is a book that was on hot lists just a few months ago in the fall when there was some movie news surrounding this. And this is a raw VF of Wolverine 88, which is down $49 from $74 to $25. I think this might have just been a great deal that somebody got. I think this is the first battle meeting of Wolverine and Deadpool. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are teaming up for Deadpool 3. I think when we see footage trailer from that movie, this book will rebound. I just suspect $25 is a very low price for this book. Coming in at number 9 is Amazing Spider-Man 17 Raw VG, which is down $57 from $273 to $216. Of course, Amazing Spider-Man 17, the second appearance of the Green Goblin. And we have seen Spider-Man keys kind of reset after their values ramped up leading up to the No Way Home film. And that's pretty much across the board. Spider-Man kind of heavily rode the comic boom And this is, I think, more of a little correction slash probably a good deal for a VG. Now, when you're talking about raw books, there's a range, right? You could get a book in VG on the lower end of VG or the higher end of VG, or somebody that lists a book at very good that the buyer thinks is better than the grade they're listing it at. So there's a lot of variability with raw books. The next two books are linked, and we're moving up to number 8 on the list, and this is the biggest losers. A loss of $61 in a fine copy of X-Men 101, the first appearance of Phoenix, down from $268 to $207. And I'm going to link this to number 7, which is a loss of $61 also in a fine copy of X-Men 94, the first appearance of the X-Men in title, and the second appearance of Nightcrawler, Storm, Colossus, Thunderbird, down from $707 to $646. So these two early Bronze Age X-Men books, and I think the X-Men books have been retreating a little bit because we're not going to see them anytime soon. Everybody's anticipating X-Men, but we're not seeing any hint of it. And I think that those are books that have just kind of lagged behind other better performers in recent months. So these are great keys. If somebody gets them a good deal, I'm not concerned about their prices decreasing because they're not going to continue to go down. These books over the long term, the rest of the global economy considered, are still key issues. Up next on the list, and I think this is just a really good deal, is a loss of $62 for Batman 130 in fine condition, down from $128 to $66. Pretty much almost a 50% loss in value. And that's unusual because Silver Age Batman books, and this is, I believe it's a 10-center, do not lose value like that. But again, there's some variability in the prices. And sometimes if an auction goes off in an odd time, you can get a deal. I would have scooped this book up at $66. I probably paid a little more for that recently when I got it. Now, I think I got a pretty good deal on this book for $50 recently in fine condition. So even though it has gone down, it's a good deal to get a Batman book of this era for under $100. Let's take a look at the next book. Is very interesting. Fantastic Four 67 in a CGC 5.5 dropped $99 in value from $291 to $192. And this is the origin of him who becomes Adam Warlock. And that's interesting because we are going to see him, Adam Warlock, in the Guardians of the Galaxy film coming up a little bit later this year. And so that's a pretty nice deal somebody got on this book. I wouldn't expect it to drop by about a third of its value. Maybe just a really good deal, but I'm not quite sure. Let's go to number 4 on the list, and this is G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 1, CGC 9.4 newsstand, down $104 from $325 to $221. Now, G.I. Joe in the comic boom was one of the early beneficiaries of the comic boom, leading into the Snake Eyes film that you may not have heard of, came out in the summer of 2021, did not do well. So the G.I. Joe values have kind of been retreating ever since they hit those highs. This book at its height, at the newsstand 9.4, sold for, I think, a high of $385. But interestingly, the direct 9.4 hit a high sale of $455 back in May of 2021, before the movie coming out. And one thing to be aware of when you're looking at pricing of newsstands is they're not as plentiful. And often the historical pricing records only recently really made the distinction between newsstand and direct edition. But still, that's about a third of the loss of its value in a week. that's kind of a book to keep an eye out on. Now, numbers 3 and 2 on this list are also connected. Number 3 on the list is a copy of Fantastic Four 45 and a CGC 4.5, down $163 from $374 to $211. That's a huge loss. First Inhumans, a major key. Obviously, we don't know what the future of the Inhumans is in the MCU, and we have not yet seen the Fantastic Four. It's a big drop, but not as big a drop as Fantastic Four 48 in a CGC 6.5. First appearance of the Silver Surfer and first cameo appearance of Galactus, down $308 from $2,837 to $2,529. Now, again, this is just a drop of one value, graded value. The Fantastic Four books have been retreating. Everybody's kind of speculating on them, especially the Silver Surfer books. So through they again rode the comic boom, and they've been coming back down to normal. And I think people are just being a little trying to get the deals. Not as many trading hands, because we don't know what the future holds for Fantastic Four, and even more so for the Silver Surfer. Some whispers of potentially a Disney Plus series coming out, but nothing confirmed. So that is a fairly big loss in value. So now we're going to go to the number one biggest drop in value in my personal collection over the last week, and that is Daredevil number 1 in poor condition, down $510 from $1,470 to $960. Now this always goes with a caveat in that poor condition has a wide range, right? In terms of its eye appeal. This is a raw poor book, so is it missing the back cover? Is it missing part of the front cover? Is it like completely water stained? Is there tape all over the place? Or is it reasonably well presenting? And that has a lot to do with it. So, but Daredevil, when we found out that Charlie Cox was going to reprise the role, we saw him in No Way Home. There was an announcement of a Daredevil TV series, and we saw him in She-Hulk. Daredevil books were increasing. And for the longest time, a lot of people in the comic book community, a lot of YouTubers were saying Daredevil 1 is undervalued, Daredevil 1 is undervalued. And so it kind of caught up, and now it's coming back down. It's sort of probably several months behind a lot of other keys. But all's not bad news for Daredevil 1. Those are the 10 books with the highest value drops. Now, let's go to the books with the highest value increases. And we're going to start off with a book. Similarly, number 10 on the list last week was Marvel Feature number 1, the first appearance of the Defenders. Number 10 on the list this week is Defenders number 1, the fourth appearance of the Defenders, first appearance in title, in fine condition, up $59 from $141 to $200. I said it last week. There seems to be some growing interest in these Defenders books. I'm a big Defenders fan. I have the whole run. I have the Marvel feature books. I have all the giant size. I even have a really nice graded copy, I think a 9.2 of the Submariner 34, I believe, is the Proto Defenders book. Hulk is still around in the MCU. Doctor Strange is a big part of the MCU right now. We've just seen Namor. Those are the three main members of the Defenders. And later on in the comic book series, Silver Surfer joined them. So, you know, people kind of putting the pieces together and saying maybe we will see the Defenders as their comic book incarnation in the movies at some point. Valkyrie was also a long-standing member of the Defenders. You know, we had the Netflix series, which included other characters, but it's just kind of interesting that number 10 on the list, both weeks, is a copy of a key Defenders book. Number 9 on the list is a very good copy of X-Men number 12, the first appearance of the Juggernaut, up $95 from $408 to $503, so approximately a 25% increase in value. We saw Bronze Age X-Men books this week on the losers list, the loss in value, but here we have a Silver Age, early Silver Age X-Men gaining in value. So that's good news. Juggernaut we've seen him in the Fox films, both in the X-Men films, and I don't think it was everybody's cup of tea how he was used in Deadpool 2. I thought he was used hilariously, but that is another story. I don't think we've seen Juggernaut the way that Juggernaut fans want to see him just yet. So that's number 9 on the list. A little funny thing about Juggernaut and Deadpool 2. At the beginning of the pandemic, in March of 2020, when my school was shut down, I was kind of quarantined, and like uncertainty, anxiety, depression, I didn't know what was going on. I watched the Deadpool movies because I needed a laugh. And, you know, when he rips Deadpool in half, that's hilarious. Let's move to number 8 on the list. And this small percentage value increase, but it is a copy of Incredible Hulk 181, first appearance of Wolverine in a CGC 7.5, up $97 from $54.53 to $55.50. Well below the heights that it hit of, I think it was over $7,000 for a 7.5 at its best. But still, this is an always key. Wolverine is over time. This book will increase in value. Now, I do know global economy, a lot of uncertainty, right? And, you know, people put that in the comments. I understand it. This is just to kind of have fun with comics. You know, I know the price of eggs has gone up crazy, you know, but the price of gas has come down. Long term, this book is still a key. I wouldn't be looking to sell it just yet. And sometimes we see those kind of dichotomies on this list where, certain keys for certain characters go up and others go down. I think it's just sometimes just the volatility of the market. But, it's just kind of interesting to look at. We talked about Fantastic Four 48 going down. Well, Fantastic Four 49 in very good condition went up $106 from $477 to $583. First full appearance of Galactus, first cover appearance of Galactus and the Silver Surfer, the second part of the trilogy 48, 49, 50 that introduced those two cosmic characters. 48 went down, 49 went up. I think these are, just the uncertainty of the sales. Some people thinking, being able to get bargains, and some sellers saying, I want to get rid of this. Some sellers are like, I'm not going to get rid of it for that price. Somebody else comes in and buys it. I think if I continue to do this, what we're going to see is some books just on the list on either side week after week. This is an interesting sale. Next on the list, a copy of Thor 168, The Origin of Galactus, another Galactus key, up $120 from $96 to $216. This book has been very volatile as of late. I think the $96 sale was just an incredibly low sale. For a VF condition book, and the $216 is closer to what it was kind of towards the tail end of last year. So I think this is just a correction in the upswing where somebody at one point got a good deal. You'll see that. So you have to look at sales history in totality, and that's why it's kind of somewhat dangerous and maybe anxiety provoking to keep looking at updating the values. It was fun, like during the boom, you updated values. Ooh, my collection went up $10,000 this week. And now you're like, oh, it's down $20,000. Enjoy your collection. Things go up and down. If you're going to sell your entire collection today, you're going to get a fraction of what it's worth, fair market value. Unless you have an amazing platform to sell all of your books. And to get the maximum value out of them. But I think the $96 was just a good deal. $216 seems about right for a VF copy of Thor 168. Let's move to number 5 on the list of the top gainers. The 5th biggest gainer on the list is a fine condition copy of Amazing Spider-Man 21, the second appearance of the Beetle. Not a big key, up $120 from $114 to $236. Now, to me, that book should probably be somewhere in the middle in that condition. Maybe it was a really attractive, fine copy that the buyer thought that they could upgrade and get a higher graded value for. the Beetle is not one of the major Spider-Man villains, and certainly his second appearance, not a huge key, more than doubling over the course of a week. We talked about, in general, Spider-Man keys slowing down a little bit. This going in the reverse direction. I think somebody just paid a little too much for this one, and probably paid a little too little for the one prior to. Fourth biggest gain on the list is a very good copy of Silver Surfer #1, up $151 from $260 to $411. We talked about his first appearances on the going down list. Here he is on the going up list. Volatility within the market. Not exactly sure what to make of it, but we've seen Silver Surfer and Galactus keys on both sides of the ledger. It seems as though that there were 3 keys in the plus side and only 1 in the minus side. So that is just kind of curious. I'm not sure what it says. I think, we're just, again, seeing some volatility right now, and we'll have to see what happens kind of week over week with these lists. Here's another kind of dichotomy here. Second appearance of Green Goblin, down. Third appearance of Green Goblin, Amazing Spider-Man 23, in fine condition, up $167 from $216 to $383. I'm not sure. That price seems a bit healthy for that book. Raw copies are a little harder to judge because the variability in a raw copy, and the you're trusting the seller. Obviously, some sellers overgrade their books, some sellers undergrade their books, and some sellers don't know how to grade their books. So this, a plus for the Green Goblin, a plus for Amazing Spider-Man, #3 on the list. Let's move to #2 on the list, and this doesn't make sense at all to me. This is like one of the craziest sales that we see on this list. Even when I was looking at other books that were close to making the list, this doesn't make sense at all. It is a book that did make some hot lists for, to me, absolutely no reason. And here, an aberrationally high sale. It is Giant Size Fantastic Four #4. The first appearance of Jamie Madrox the Multiple Man in near mint raw condition, up $329 from $21 to $350. $21 is low. I'll grant you that. No question. $21 is low for that book. But I'm trying to figure out what, in near mint condition, what that book's really worth. Maybe $100 raw? I don't see paying more for that unless someone has some inside information, or they just, for whatever reason, really, really, really wanted this book. I don't understand why they couldn't have gotten it cheaper than $350. It almost seems like one of those sales, like on eBay, where the seller will list something for 7 times what it's worth, and then somebody just might drunkenly buy it. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. I kind of did a double take when I saw this on the list, but there it is. Giant Size Fantastic Four, first appearance of the Multiple Man. I don't know. If he gets his own Disney Plus series, he'll be the one looking ridiculous. And really, you have to get, if you're going to get that book graded, it has to come back at least a 9.4 for that sale to make sense. But now here's the funny thing. We talked about dichotomy. Books, similar books on the high and the low. How about the same book not only being on both lists, but being #1 on both lists, being the biggest gainer and the biggest loser in value over the course of the last week? And pretty much similar. It lost $510, a poor condition of Daredevil #1. A good condition raw copy of Daredevil #1 gained $435 from $2,075 up to $2,510. I don't know what to make of this. So I think it goes to show me that these lists are just kind of snapshots. That we're taking just 10 to 20 data points. We're not taking into account a whole lot of data. If we dive a little bit deeper into Daredevil #1, let's see. There have been in January 2.0 and 2.5. Actually, in January, the 2.5 sold for $28.50 on January 9th, which was the highest sale since October. It was higher than the previous 6 sales. And a 2.0 in January sold for $2,075, which is the lowest sale since October. I don't know. It going in opposite directions. Just a grade is CGC graded half a grade point apart, one grade level. One, the highest sale for a while. The other, the low for 3 months. The other, the lowest sale for 3 months. Go figure. I think what it's telling us, if I can glean anything from this, is volatility. There's a lot of volatility in the comic book market, and as a buyer, maybe that means look for the deals. Right? If something has a fair market value of, let's say, $500, a book that you're looking for, maybe you can get it for $400, maybe for even less. I tend to look for deals anyway. I don't target specific books too often. I just kind of look for books that are available, either auctions that are ending or new listings, or see things it shows. Because when the economy is as uncertain as it is, I'm sure there are people that are selling books for cash, right? Got to pay bills. People who do this for a living, and if the cost of living increases, they got to sell more books. People have an emergency, they dig into their collectibles and can get some cash for it. But there are people whose financial situation is solid. I'm not talking people who are wealthy, but whose financial situation is really no worse than it was. People who maybe have gotten salary increases in the last year to keep up with the cost of living. People who've had other, financial windfalls, inherited money perhaps. I don't know. So there's always going to be buyers. The number of buyers is less than it was a year and a half ago. We all know that. But there are deals to be had out there, but there are also avenues, if you have good books, to sell them at good prices. Some books are up, some books are down, and we see relationships between these Silver Surfer Galactus keys, Daredevil #1, Spiderman keys on both sides of the ledger. So I can't draw any conclusions. I just kind of have fun doing this series. Kind of take a look at some books. It's kind of a little bit of a micro look at the comic book market, and maybe it can give us a hint as to what we might look for going forward. If we see the book like Jimmy Madrox, is the Multiple Man going to be a big character? Is somebody speculating hard on him? I don't know. That was kind of a head scratcher. Probably the biggest head scratcher of them all. So anyway, let me know what you think about this list. Are any of these books you're looking to buy right now and you think you can get a deal if they're going down? Books that you have in your collection that are going up you might be happy with? Let me know. Do you use the CLZ app to check your collection and see which books have gone up and down? So we're all involved in the economics of comic books somehow. Even if you're a collector, you're buying them, and you'd rather buy them for a cheaper price. If you can buy a book for $100 instead of $150, that's what you would like to do. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. In the meantime, you can take a look at a couple of my other recent videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.